Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Health to order. This is Donna Strong. My name is Thomas Corey, Daniel Souza, and Tess Curran, agent for the board. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the meeting of June the 5th. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections to be made to the minutes of the meeting as printed? I have one. On page 2 of 3, under item 7, update on tobacco compliance checks and violations, I think that first sentence should read, Ms. Sarah LaRue completed the state-assigned sector, S-E-C-T-O-R.
That's the name of the sign, or is the name of the surveys?
Okay, all right.
Capitalized.
Okay,
So it is correct as it is?
yes.
Okay, I've been educated today, folks. Are there any other additions, deletions, or corrections to be made? We have a motion to accept.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting held on June 5th, 2019.
Second motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. We have to have an approval of citizen input procedures. Just the front page here. The board shall provide a public comment section on meeting agendas for every regular and special meeting. Public comment should be limited to 3 minutes and be related to items on the agenda for regular and special meetings. Any comments? I just want to put a couple comments out. Generally, many people who appear before the board appear for a certain reason, and many of their neighbors, the abutters, receive notifications, okay? So it's always been understood that we're going to talk about an animal permit today. Those abutters are notified of this meeting. They would be asked to speak at that moment, okay? They don't have to wait till the end for the public input. And there's going to be a presentation about a septic system today. Those abutters and neighbors were invited today also. They don't have to wait till the public input time. They'll be asked to give their comments at the time we're discussing that. Is that what we all generally believe this is? Okay? So that's all, and we're going to do it at the end of the meeting because sometimes Dr. Souza has to leave for his hospital duties. And this way, Donna and I can take care of the public comment if he has to leave early. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Do we have a motion to accept that as... And Peter, you worded the right way?
Would you like me to put a line item in there that says, abutters can speak within the time frame of their agenda item, or is it?
It's always been understood that
Okay,
way.
so
And
as long as
I wouldn't want someone
that's
to,
clear.
for us to take care of an agenda item and move on it, and then the abutter decide to speak afterwards. We would hope that they would offer their comments at the time of the discussion.
Okay.
So is that generally understood to be
Yes.
okay, fair, and okay? Do we have a motion to accept that? And again, Peter will word it appropriately for the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept that public comment as it's stated.
I second the motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Next, we have some tattoo practitioner licenses, but can we make a change to the agenda? Can we do number 8 first? Because I think we have to create the place before we can have a place for them to work. Okay, it's just out of sequence on the, is that agreeable to everyone?
Yes.
Lisa, I assume you're presenting?
I am.
Okay, we're going to take up the request for tattoo establishment license for Up in Flames Tattoo at 228 South Main Street.
Do you need all of those?
Gentlemen,
Yeah,
come on
Sure,
down.
okay.
You've all been here before.
Yes, a few times this year. Thank you. Oh, he's getting a chair for you. Thank you.
Okay, so we're taking up the facility license first, the facility permit for Up in Flames Tattoo at 228 South Main Street.
Correct.
Thank you.
I read through the packet.
Okay.
And it looks like everything is in order. Lisa?
Okay. We have three gentlemen here. Aaron, they all work at Up in Flames Tattoo presently.
Yes. And I know they all have licenses
They
from the
do.
city. They all have
They're-
permits from the city.
Yes,
So we're changing the location.
yes, he
And
bought a
because of the-
building
Because of the
and,
change of location, we have to issue new licenses and new permits.
right, licenses are non-transferable, so they will be at a new building that he
Correct.
purchased on South Main Street. So everything's in order, all their credentials are here. I think if you look through the packet.
I did look through the packet,
Okay.
and everything is in order as it should be, yes.
Okay, so they are all set, they're just waiting for me and waiting for the meeting.
Okay. Do we want to do the facility license first?
Sure.
And then the individual? Okay, can we have a motion for the Up in Flames Tattoo facility at 228 South Main?
So I'll make a motion for the permit application for the tattooing establishment Up in Flames Tattoo to be granted.
And second motion.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? So voted. Now that you have a place to work,
Right.
We're not going to let you
we can do these all together, I think. Okay, so we're going to take number 5, number 6, and number 7. Request for an approval for a tattoo practitioner license for Aaron Gilmet, for David Medeiros, and for Jesse J. Powers of the listed addresses at Up in Flames. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to accept the tattoo purchase. Oh, boy. I make a motion to approve the tattoo practitioner licenses for Aaron Gilmet, David Medeiros, and Jesse Powers to be located at 228 South Main Street.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Gentlemen, good luck at your new location.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys.
Someone's been practicing.
Yes, I like the neck. Wouldn't look good on me, right?
Ouch.
That had to hurt, yes.
What's that?
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I said thank you very much.
Oh, you're
Enjoy the rest of your day.
welcome. You too.
All right, enjoy the AC.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, Cheryl Sabara is here. She's the senior staff attorney for the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards. And this is in conjunction with item number 10 about the, for lack of a better term, the marijuana paraphernalia. Welcome. Good to have you
Good
back.
afternoon, thank you.
Did you have a nice drive in?
Yes, I had a very nice drive. It's very pretty, no traffic. So my understanding is that you've rescinded the regulation that you initially had
Yes.
voted in. And my further understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong because I was not at the last meeting, is that the amendment, the proposed amendment that you made, or that you proposed to make to this regulation, was as a result of complaints that you received from the business community relative to certain devices that are used to smoke either tobacco or marijuana or CBD. Is that correct? And your attempt was to amend the regulation so that those businesses that wanted to sell certain accessories like vaporizers, vape pens, and tanks, they would still be able to sell them. That is my understanding. My understanding also is that there was some confusion about what a marijuana accessory actually is. And this is a tricky question to answer because we have two conflicting statutes on the books right now in the Massachusetts legislature. We have Chapter 94C, which defines drug paraphernalia, and then we have Chapter 94C, Section 1, which defines marijuana accessories. And if you look at those two statutes, you will see that to a very large extent, they look very similar. Okay? Okay? So that is why what has been happening in some municipalities, so now pursuant to Chapter 94C, the cannabis statute, anything that can be used to ingest, inhale, or otherwise introduce cannabis into the human body is now a legal marijuana accessory. It is no longer considered drug paraphernalia, except that there are still the two laws that conflict. But that's not your problem. That's, well, it's all of our problem, actually. That I don't think was the intent of the legislature, but that's what has happened. That's how it's fallen out. So at one point, these types of accessories, for instance, bongs, pipes, glass pipes, hookah, all of the stuff, including all of the things that you were considering exempting, like vape pens and tanks, prior to the cannabis law going into effect, they were all considered drug paraphernalia. However, the police have interpreted what is drug paraphernalia prior to the marijuana law differently in different departments. And how it's really started shaking out is that anything that could conceivably be used to ingest tobacco could be sold in an establishment that had a tobacco sales permit. So that's how those products were somewhat limited. Now that is no longer a requirement, because now all of these products are legal marijuana accessories. So what you were attempting to do was to accommodate those retailers that either sell CBD or something else and want to continue to sell the vaporizers, vape pens, tanks, those kind of products. And my understanding is that was not acceptable. You were challenged legally. You are trying to bend over backwards to find some way to let all of these stores sell at least some of these marijuana accessories, but you've been criticized for attempting to accommodate them. Is from when I looked at, when I saw, I watched the video of the hearing. So it is not an easy situation to be in, because you didn't create this conflict between what is a legal marijuana accessory, and you didn't create what's happening in Fall River, which from my understanding is that many, many, many stores now are selling marijuana accessories, and they're selling them legally. What you were attempting to do, from my understanding, was to, communities that have looked at this in the past have tried to limit these marijuana accessories to either marijuana establishments, or which would cover any cannabis establishments you have, or adult-only retail tobacco stores, or maybe just adult-only stores. But you tried to go one step further and permit some of these to still be sold in stores that just sell CBD products, or that basically I believe that was one of the main concerns, that stores that sell products that can vape but are not tobacco retail stores should be able to sell these products, is what the public was asking you to do. And you tried to do it in the best possible way, and it wasn't good enough.
Because the counter argument became, for instance, the use of the hookah, which has been around for a gazillion years. And a store owner legitimately said, this is not directly intended for a cannabis use. Why can't I sell it versus the tobacco adult only?
Well, and again, this is the slippery slope.
And then to the other extreme, you are creating from a capitalist market a monopoly here and excluding everyone else.
Well, there's a rational basis for that, so that's not the issue. But if there are two options here. You can just take this out completely and not address marijuana accessories, or you could extend the exemption to hookah or, I mean, any of these other things. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. I mean, you tried to do what you thought the business community wanted you to do, and it wasn't enough. So, they're right. I mean, hookah is one of those that might easily come out. I'm not sure you'd want to take out dab rings, but that's a decision that you can make. And we're in this position because of the legislature.
Is this going to be resolved anytime soon?
I don't know. They have bigger fish to fry right now. They're looking at social consumption establishments, and they would have to amend the state law in order to allow what the Cannabis Control Commission is proposing. So whether they're going to go back and look at this, it's been brought to their attention on numerous occasions by numerous people, including me. I'm not sure what they're going to do about it.
Looks like, we've opened up a Pandora's box and the legislature is now behind all the
Right.
now potential.
Right, but in defense of them, they did try to capture all the lessons learned from other states. We have a better law than a lot of other states do, but there are still challenges with it. That's okay. So that in a nutshell is what my understanding is of what happened at the last meeting. Did I capture it?
They did agree, or some of them did propose that they would keep all of this stuff out of sight, in back areas so that it wouldn't be visible or accessible to children.
Yeah,
So
that's
we'd have-
great. I mean, that certainly is an amendment. Well, now we have nothing, so you would start over and we could take out, we keep in the definition, but we would take out the pieces addressing which stores can sell these products and instead put in some pretty basic tobacco control language about no self-service displays, behind the counter. You could add out of sight, but I don't know, in the tobacco industry or in the tobacco world, we frequently get the claim that they have a First Amendment right of commercial free speech. Would we be violating that right by putting the products behind the counter? I don't think we would, because these aren't brands of things, but that would be something I would just run by the city solicitor's office. But we could certainly put the youth accessible controls that we do in tobacco control programs on marijuana accessories.
I think another part that was an issue at our last meeting was the confusion around how we had expanded the definition, and we said including but not limited to, and then we listed them out.
That's a common way of,
Yes, but I think that in itself was another issue for store owners not having the main issue was that store owners didn't have a clear sense of what they could and could not sell. And because while we listed a number of examples out, there was still left with, what other device can I sell, can I not sell? And I understand that that's an all-encompassing term that would, be put in there to obviously help us in terms of regulating. But I think that was just another element that was confusing to folks.
yeah, and I must admit, and I don't usually say this, but I am going to say it this time because I watched that meeting and I really felt for you, because you were trying to bend over backwards to help retailers and they were picking on every single thing. Any lawyer knows that including but not limited to gives people an example of the types of products. This would not include what are the little flowers, the crack flower things, the heroin things that people use. I forget the name of them. But there are certain pieces of drug paraphernalia that everyone knows are not used to ingest marijuana, okay? So you were just giving examples. We don't know the limits. I mean, it's like the tobacco industry. We do not know the limits of the amount of products that are going to be created and used to ingest cannabis. We don't know. New products are coming out all the time. So, there's no way you could list a comprehensive list of every product, but we are adults who should be able to understand what can be used to ingest marijuana and what cannot be used to ingest marijuana. And in all good faith, that's why you put these examples out here. The state drug paraphernalia law does not list all of them either, because it's impossible to list anything that could be possibly used to ingest drugs. So I'm sorry that that's a concern of theirs, but I don't know how else you would address this. And I believe your city solicitor looked at this.
Oh, yes, yeah. Yeah, and I was just pointing that out as another kind of challenge that we were faced with.
Right.
I'm in complete agreement that including and not limited to is.
It's giving
Standard
descriptors of the
Right.
types of products.
Right. So I think if we can, certainly ask
If you want-
Cheryl any additional questions, but.
Right, and I'm happy to amend the draft and then have it go to your city solicitor's office and just put in those youth access pieces for all of these products, including but not limited to the ones that are listed, if that's what you'd like to do.
I think that'd be a good move, yes.
Okay, so we'll take out completely restrict these to retail tobacco, adult-only retail tobacco stores and marijuana establishments, take out all reference to that, and just put in some safeguards on where the products can be located in stores. That make sense?
I wish you were here last month.
I wish I was somewhere
We needed some
else.
legal,
I wish I could have been, but I was somewhere else.
All right, so we'll add that to next
Okay.
month's agenda, or?
Thank you for your help.
No
Yes, sure.
problem.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Do you need me for anything else? Please say no. Thank you.
Head to the beach now while you're down this?
Oh,
way?
no.
Okay.
Day's not over, right?
No, the day has just begun. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Can we, Roger's here, so we can continue in order?
Yes.
Okay. Next, item number 11, a septic system overview from the sewer water department representatives. Gentlemen, come on down. And I've been neglectful in my duty, I just realized. Gentlemen, will you state your name and address for the record? I'm going to get a letter.
Paul Ferlin, Deputy Administrator of Community Utilities.
Terrence Sullivan, Administrator of Community Utilities.
All right, gentlemen.
So, and we've become a bit more involved with septic systems, given the problems in South Watuppa Pond and some of the adjacent ponds. The Health Board and the health staff oversees the septic system inspection and approval, given that we've had a continual algae bloom in South Watuppa Pond. And as you may have heard, actually the Health Board was partnered with us in issuing the press release and the advisory about swimming in the pond after the events that occurred last July. South Watuppa Pond is in full algae bloom right now. Actually started a little earlier this summer, probably due to the extended rains in the spring. We've been trying to work with both Westport and Tiverton to come up with some solutions, and it appears nationwide these cyanobacteria algae blooms are becoming more and more noticed or prevalent or both. The South Watuppa Pond has gone into algae bloom for all of my 32 years here. Although we don't have a solution, and the answer historically it's suspected to be the impact of nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus coming either from failed septic systems, agricultural sources, or overuse of fertilizers. So when the engineering department had concerns and questions about this particular septic systems due to the multiple variances, we had this discussion. And although I don't think the algae bloom itself is the reason to stop approval of the septic system, I believe we need to start working in a progressive manner to find a solution to the problem. The toxic algae blooms are not going to go away. They've been there for a long time, and the addition of septic systems and/or failure of septic systems along the Southwood Tupper Pond are just going to continue to contribute to the problem. So I'm hoping, although we don't directly oversee, I'm hoping the health staff and the health board will work with us on finding some solutions. I know those solutions become very, very difficult, such as revising ordinances for annual inspections of septic systems. I'm sure if you tried that, you'd get a lot of kickback, but I think that there are many out there that could be in failure already. And then working with us with the adjacent towns to try to find a solution to limit the nitrogen and phosphorus from whatever sources that it may be coming from to ultimately resolve the algae blooms. The advisory that we posted last July is still in place, and there was a rather large article on the Herald News today on the front page. Although I noticed the advisory poster disappeared from Dave's speech this morning, well, we will be putting it back up. But the advisory remains in place. It's not a restriction from swimming, but it's an advisory to avoid swimming or not to ingest the water because of the algae that's there. So we're hoping to continue to work with the health department and the engineering department to try to come up with solutions. It's not a new problem, but it is a pretty significant problem that ultimately could have very, very high costs to resolve, whether that's inspection and upgrade the septic systems, whether that's expanding sewering to those areas where the septic systems or even some existing cesspools need to be replaced, but it won't be us alone. That would have to be done in partnership with both the town of Tiverton and the town of Westport, who are also abutters to the pond. So we're here today just to support the engineering department's recommendation, of which I think J.R. Fry, the city engineer, could not make the meeting today, but I believe he did issue his letter to the board, and because he couldn't be here today and because of the algae issue, we said we would appeal.
Okay.
Terry seemed to have summed it up. Terry summed it up very well.
I blab a
I
lot.
don't think any of us have enough expertise to really quiz you on this. We have to take your word for it.
I just think that
Although I didn't know where Judge Street was. Anyone here know where Judge Street is? Well, okay. Talk about being in the wilderness. I Googled satellited it and kind of found out, well, that's a nice community down all along the pond and things like that.
well, in 2010, the stream that passes by Judge and Greenleaf with all of the flooding overflowed, so I spent a little time out there in
And
2010.
I thought to myself, my God, to put the sewerage to there, it would have to run across Massachusetts, across Rhode Island, to Stafford Road, probably to the
Very
Florida
costly.
system. Yeah.
Very, very, all solutions to this type of problem are very, very costly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of the concerns would be, I mean, one option is for upgrade and expanding septic systems, but that's very costly for the customer or the resident as well. So there's no simple solution, but the problem is out there and it's not going to go away.
And I think one other thing that Terry mentioned too is that it's gonna be all the communities within the watershed, so it's Westport, Tiverton are all part of that watershed. It's all contributing to the problem in the pond, so it's not really just Fall River's issues, although we own the rights to the water and to be able to flow the water in Southwood Upper Pond. We don't actually own the water itself or the water quality, so.
So we get multiple calls because we control the level, Mother Nature controls the level, but we try to manage the level of the Southwood Upper Pond. The flow out of the pond goes through the Quikasham River, which is controlled by the 4th Street Gatehouse, which is right across the street. We have two 10 by 30-foot deep dams, and we try to control the level to keep the customers happy on the pond, which is a challenge. But because of that level control, when the customers have concerns about the algae bloom or other issues, they usually call our office as well.
Okay.
So
Any other questions?
if this is denied, what are the options for this 6 Judge Street property?
Well, I think in J.R. Fry's letter, he talked about the options of some of the alternative systems that could be approved. Reading his letter, he seemed more concerned about the variances and the proximity of the wells so close to that septic system. So there are alternates that can be reviewed and designed, and that was, I believe, the basis of Mr. Fry's letter.
Sounded very engineering.
Okay?
Gentlemen, thank you. Okay, now we've got the request for variance for septic system at 6 Judge Street. Roger, you're presenting?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
forgive my interruption. I'm here late. Could I ask what happened with the cannabis? Was there a vote taken?
There was no vote taken.
Okay, so it's status...
Status quo, yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're
Sorry for
welcome.
the interruption.
You can come down.
Roger, we know who you are, sir. Would you state your name and address for the record?
For the record, my name's Alex Gorodetsky. I'm a professional engineer. My address is 422 North Main Street, Fall River, Massachusetts. I'm representing a septic system design repair, actually, for a project on 6 Judge Street. And there were 2 abutting properties that are affected by the design, and they were notified by mail. One is the lady here, it's 4 Judge Street. The other property was at 38 Judge Street. It appears like the lot was abandoned, but I did my best. I sent notifications to the address listed at the assessor's office, and also I Googled and found similar name, and I said, yeah, I took liberty to send somebody with the same name notification as well, some lady in Somerset. Whether she may be...
Hi, Mr. Grotzky. Roger, if you would.
What we have here is a very small lot, and as the gentleman prior to me, we were worried about the nitrogen, and we have 5 variances we're recording here. Get it right. I just want to make sure I get it right. All right, yeah. Talking, we have 3 approximate setbacks from wells. The Judge Street well, the 4 Judge Street well, the 6 Judge Street, the 4 Judge Street, and 38 Judge Street. We also are looking for a groundwater separation from 4 feet to 2 feet. And then we were looking for a setback from a crawl space and a fence line and 5 feet to the existing encroachment to the next abutting property. So basically what I'm really worried about is the setbacks from the wells. Now, I don't know how, I mean, there's ways of doing that where you could set up for a well analysis for years to come, 4 or 5, whatever. But according to our engineer, he's not really happy with that either. What I think he's looking to do is for Mr. Gorodetsky to look into getting a different system. Maybe a bottomless sand filter. And I know the state doesn't really like to have tight tanks, but that might be something we have to look into.
And let me just explain the situation. It's, the lot itself is 5,000 square feet. The available area that is there, 2,000 square feet. Because the rest is occupied by the house and sidelines of the house. If we go without any variances, the area shrinks to about 107 square feet. If we go with the variances, so basically the minimum, there is no room, there's no physical room to put the system in compliance with Title V. Title V has a concept called maximum feasible compliance, which also includes financial considerations, which means that we cannot put a septic system that will be in maintenance and in construction cost very expensive. So the system that and Title V gives you a reference, what you can do, what steps you should do if you have to, in order to achieve concept of maximum feasible compliance. And so the bottom line is you cannot deny repairs and you cannot make repairs excessively costly. So, and it gives you, let's say, the steps you have to go. And I sent a reply to. So the first step, you reduce setbacks from the property lines. Then you reduce setbacks from the crawl spaces, then you reduce groundwater table separation. The last step that you're allowed to do is reduce setbacks from the well. The system that I'm proposing, it's called Elgin system. It's innovative and alternative technology approved by Mass DEP, especially for remedial applications. And it allows groundwater table reduction. The reason why it allows for groundwater table reduction, let's say normal from 2 feet to 4 feet, because it provides superior degree of treatment. I'm explaining one of my variances, and if we don't have this groundwater table separation, what's end up is the height of the system, because of the high groundwater table, will be pretty much at about halfway through the windows level of the house. It will be 6 feet above the house, and the grade drops. You will pretty much have a huge mound. It makes property unlivable. The other issue is separation from the wells. Title 5 allows separation from the wells up to 50 feet. So if it is less, and I had instances in Westport, let's say, where Board of Health allows separation to the 30 feet because of the constraints of the lot for the similar system. But up to 50 feet, it's allowable variance. So the variance, one of the reasons why I'm here, what comes into the place, that the special system, innovative alternative technology, Elgin geotechnical sand filter, requires, if you go in conjunction with groundwater table reduction and well distance reduction, they have to be in front of the Board of Health. Also, Title 5 states that Board of Health has its authority to waive any requirement of Title 5 except one, which is available material. You have to have at least 2 feet of material where treatment can occur. This is not the case. So that's pretty much prevents you building septic systems on the ledge. That's the intent of this violation. So I haven't seen JR's letter yet. Unfortunately, he promised to send this letter to me on Friday night. I haven't seen it. I talked to him on Friday. He said, I'm going to get it. I had no opportunity to review it. Getting back into the bottomless sand filter, yes, it is possible. But let's say if this system costs, let's say, about $15,000 to $18,000, which is expensive, maybe even to $20,000. If you get into the bottomless sand filter, you get probably closing to $40,000 installation plus maintenance cost, which will probably run close to $2,000 a year. It includes the bottomless sand filter will require constant maintenance, and the degree of treatment still will not be much better than what you have here. It's a highly expensive, not very reliable system. It can freeze in the winter, and it has its disadvantages. Systems like that usually, again, cost factor is effective. Let's say if it were Block Island, where the property are in $1 million, yes, you can do a system like that. On a lot on the Judge Street, it would be, in my opinion, a reasonable burden on homeowner and on current property owners to put system like that. Because again, Title 5 states that financial consideration should be part of feasibility project, and it still will be more compact system. But what bottomless sand filter is, you have to have a tank, septic tank. You have to have a pump tank. You have to have a special treatment unit, and then you have to have this unit recirculating to the bottomless filter and back and forth. In my opinion, in this case, it would be not only impractical, but it would be of limited benefit to the area. Because whatever we're proposing, the way it is right now, there's a cesspool right directly into the groundwater table. So basically, all the sewage directly flows into the detention pond. The open septic tank,
as it stands now.
As it stands right now. What we're proposing is a system that will significantly improve the situation. And again, there are ways you can make almost distilled water. You can out of the leaching field. You will be able to drink it, but the cost factor is there. So I think spending $50,000 and forever maintenance cost of a couple $1,000s a year, which will never be less, I don't think it's practical, and I don't think it's reasonable. I talked to before I submitted this file, I also consulted people at the DEP at District 5 and at Boston office, and they told me they will look into it, but bottom line, it's in your hands right now. And in all my years, I've been doing these designs for over 20 years. since I think my first septic system was in Fall River in 96 or 97. It's still working. And by design probably 5, 6, I don't know, 100 septic systems. This is first time that a septic system repair would have been denied in my practice. That never happened before, but that's just a side note. But be it as it may, that's my presentation. Bottom line, whatever I'm proposing, it's a advanced treatment system that will provide much superior degree of treatment. What other communities do in situation like that, if there is a concern for well distances, let's say what Westport does, they require water sampling from the abutters and monitoring it for 3 years, let's say, that nothing will happen, that there is no adverse impact onto the abutting wells. And they also require, Westport in this situation requires hold harmless agreement, which means that absolves municipality from any lawsuits or whatever can come if something like that happens. I designed a few septic systems in Westport, more than a few. It's groundwater table separation, and it's been monitored. So far, I haven't heard anything. So, and one more thing, this septic system, Elgins, is one of the most common septic systems in Rhode Island, and also in Connecticut. And it's been there around for many years, and it's proven of providing required treatment. That's pretty much my presentation.
Thank you. Andy, you wanted to speak? You can come on down.
My
If
name
you could
is
state-
Paula Matile. I'm one of the owners for 4 Judge Street.
Okay.
My concern is that this system has been in the ground for over 25 years. And we're just now finding out that it's bad, when it was probably never legal to begin with.
Wait.
The,
What do you mean-
the,
what do you
the
mean?
old system
The old system.
has been in the ground
for 25 years.
at least.
It could be.
So if we're just finding out now that it's bad, with all the people that have owned this property over the years, this is very concerning to me. The other thing that I would like to know is what dates did you open that septic system on?
I believe when did we do it? Let me see. Sometime in April, I believe we came.
Did you open it again?
No, when we did topography.
Just the initial?
Just the initial, because we had no right to be there before. I mean, we were
No,
hired.
I'm just concerned from then to now.
We
Okay.
opened it sometime, I believe, either April or May, something.
Yeah.
I don't remember. You caught me off guard with the
No,
date.
that's fine. I don't,
So I think you saw my crew when people were working.
My mother did, yes.
So this
Yes.
was about that time when it was.
Yeah, so I'm not arguing what you're trying to do. I just want to make sure that in the future, if we come up with a problem,
I just want to let you know, just the
What's the
easier,
date for
there was
it?
an inspection done in 2003 and it passed.
and it passed. Okay.
Yes.
2003 it passed.
Yeah. Okay?
How often are you supposed to have inspections?
Whenever you're going to do change of hands, if you fail, you know what I mean?
It's not a set.
The property, I do believe, is for sale, right?
The reason why I am even here now, because the owners of the property did Title V inspection recently, and it failed
It
Title
failed. That's why.
Title V inspection. And
Because I do believe they're selling the property, right?
yes, and the reason why septic systems like that work, because basically what happens if you stick a sewer pipe into the Taunton River, it will work through. It's water will just carry it away. I mean, it will. It has the direct hydraulic connection, so whatever comes in goes out. So there is what the septic system does. It's not even a septic system; it's a tank and a cesspool. What it does now, there's no treatment whatsoever. It's just direct hydraulic connection of the sewage into the.
And I know you're dealing with the septic system, but has the water for this house been tested? I know
Water.
you're just dealing with the septic system, but do you know if the water has been tested?
No, I don't. I don't know. But that's usually.
Is the current property occupied?
No.
I believe it's being repaired.
I mean, is it occupied? Is there someone living there?
No.
Not that I know
How
of.
long has someone not been living there? I mean, are we talking maybe?
Since about April,
Since about April, okay.
yeah.
So they have to do the repairs before they can sell the house, right?
Correct.
So if the current, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So if it's an expense for the new owner,
That would depend on whatever contract, whatever
well,
deal there.
yeah, but I'm saying,
The other thing I was going to say is that we do have two of
The new owner
those.
is going to take this on. He doesn't want to have any problems in 10 years, and you don't want to have any problems next year.
Right.
Um,
We do have two bottomless sand filters on Greenleaf Street that is like within 100 feet of this one. We have two systems side by side.
And they work what do you mean side by side?
There's one on one property and one on the other property.
And what's
Two
the
different.
distance between them?
About 10 feet, yeah.
Okay.
Have they been tested? Just out of curiosity.
They're supposed to have a yearly, annual inspection, maintenance inspection.
Wait, ma'am, have you ever had problems with your water?
No, but
You don't want to
You
have
never
it either.
you don't test,
Right.
but what it is, if it's the degree of treatment whether bottomless sand filter provides or this system provides will be pretty much the same. It will not. You will not see. The most concern for you will be probably coliform, E. coli bacteria, coliform.
That's a big one.
Oh, yes.
It is absolutely concerned. So
That's a fun
that, no, but that's what I'm saying. So whether you have bottomless sand filter or my system, the result will be the same. What bottomless sand filter does, it provides the nitrification probably a little bit better than. But again, cost is a factor as far as drinking water is concerned. I think this system will be adequate. And again, you can test it for 3 years. That's how it's done in Westport. They test it for 3 years. If there are no issues in 3 years, then that's it. The system is done. They put money into. They create an escrow account. They put money into the account that would allow for water testing. That's how it's done in Westport, for example. That's the point.
Yeah, but state your name and address for the record.
Sure, Janet Riley, 35 Judge Street. I live across from the property on 6 Judge Street, and I've
Okay.
also been in that neighborhood for a gazillion years. So let me just tell you, I was in front of you about 8 years ago because I had to redo my septic system due to an oil spill, okay? It cost me $40,000 to do my septic system. That was my burden to put that in, to make sure that I was legal. I believe John Staskowitz was who handled my case, and Roger, I worked with Roger at some point in time also. I am telling you that that lot and the compromise to the wells could be impacted, okay? If there is another spill of any kind, whether oil or something else, these wells could be impacted, okay? Not only that, it's a very tight neighborhood, as you know, it dead ends.
Yes.
One way in, one way out. We have a stream that runs down, so there's pollutants coming from the farm and everything else. That end of the road gets saturated with water all the time, okay? That property, as it is now, I see some information on there regarding fence lines. The fence line, I believe, I'm not sure, I believe none of that has been surveyed properly because I believe the survey points have been removed. So therefore, the only way to really survey that any of the properties down there is to go out into the middle of the pond to get the true survey. Some of those fence lines may not even be on their property. So to me, whatever the cost is to do this, trust me, I didn't want my well contaminated. I had to go and spend $40,000 to have it done and redo my well. Fortunately, I'm clear and free now, but that neighborhood has older systems, older wells. If something should happen on Nikki's property at 4 Judge Street, or Pam's property at, what is she?
30-something.
50-something, I
30.
think, I don't know, the numbers don't go together down there. Basically, they have no recourse, then they're gonna burden the cost, right? That isn't fair to them to burden the cost, nor is it fair for them to be incurring to see if their water is going to be tainted with something. That's not fair. They should always have potable water. As the city doesn't provide us septic or water down there, really and truly it's incumbent upon the property owners to make sure that it's safe. Whatever JR's suggestions are or concerns are, I believe they must be legitimate. So I believe a new septic system has to be put in there, whether or not that land is usable or not. Plus, you're looking at, what, a 4-bedroom house?
No, 3-bedroom house. But let me interrupt you. What happens if the property is not sold? They don't have to fix septic system. So whatever, absolutely not. Septic system has to be repaired only when title changes hands. So if property is not
Well,
sold,
eventually the property will change hands. It's going to have to be fixed.
but it may or may not. So whatever is proposed now, it's an improvement over it is there. Also, as far as fence lines or property lines are concerned, fence lines are more or less reasonably within inches of property lines.
Definitely the one on the street side is not.
Well, no, yeah, but I'm
It's on city property, so I'm saying is if there's gonna be setbacks, you have to take all of that into consideration. And trust me, I think it's good that they're gonna do it. I believe that you should make it proper. Basically, that's what's gonna happen down there. If you want the water to be protected, all of those properties at some point in time are gonna have to be inspected and upgraded. That's all there is to it, because the city isn't gonna bring down sewer down there. So I think really and truly, it's whatever the best design is, and whatever that cost is, everybody's gonna have to incur it. But you have to take into consideration other people as well in drinking water.
But what I'm saying that my design is better than that's JR is proposing. I think my design is better design. Or what I'm saying.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
If that house, if it failed Title V,
Yes.
can they get an occupancy permit if they don't fix it? I mean, suppose the people that own it now wanted to live there.
I wouldn't sign off
They can't
on
live
it.
there without a Title V.
I wouldn't sign off
So
on it.
either way, if it's going to be occupied, it has to be fixed, right?
Right.
It previously had maybe been more of a summer home, not used regularly, but now it seems to be more of a
See,
permanent
yeah,
house.
yeah.
Where the
Year-round.
septic system is used more. And one thing that JR had mentioned to me is that we don't know what type or how deep the abutters wells are. So without that knowledge, that can create, more of an issue, where we don't necessarily know how, if it's, a deeper well, then that may be less of an issue, or if it's more of a shallow well, then that, is more of an issue. But because we don't have that record, then that leaves there more reason to be, concerned with request, or, approving these variances.
How far is it from the actual papa?
I think it's beyond the 100 feet.
Beyond the 100 feet,
Yeah.
well over 100.
It's beyond the what Conservation Commission.
And just another note that, if the board were to approve these variances, then, you would be setting a precedent for other homes, which then, continues to, run the risk of issues down the line.
So my concern is if your system is so great and the current system is leaching into the watershed, it seems to me if the city engineers don't think it's a good idea, they must have a very valid reason.
It's,
Well, on his last letter, I don't know if you read it,
I did.
it's
I
the
read all of it.
highlighted area. You might want
I
to take a
haven't
look.
received it yet.
I'm surprised he didn't send it to you. If
No.
you want to take a look at it. According to the approvals from the state for this system, you can get the clearance for the,
No, this is an old letter. I sent him a reply. I sent this
well,
letter.
this is the last one I got.
This is, no, that's something different, no.
Roger, you're our expert in this field.
I haven't
What's
really
your
seen,
recommendation?
Personally, I think the board should table this for now. and have Mr. Garadetsky, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right,
Carlos.
do a plan for a bottomless sand and see what feasibly, what that would come out to, and see if we can go from there. And like I said, I mean, I know the state doesn't really like tight tanks, but it might be the only option here. I don't know. I don't know if that answered your question.
It's gotta be an engineering
Yeah,
question.
it's
It's
an
not
engineering.
pretty, but it doesn't sound like if he's not signing off on it.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
concern. If
Yeah,
they're not
yeah.
signing off on it.
The city engineer, the water department, the sanitary engineer,
This is
I'm a
the
little
iceberg.
hesitant to, I'm a little hesitant to go for an approval today.
And like I said, we've already got two of those. You've got Judge that comes left and right off of Greenleaf, and if you follow around Greenleaf, you'll see there's two systems there. You usually see them, they usually have blocks, 4x4 blocks.
I'll
raised
get
on
my
them.
GPS out one day and take a field trip.
It's quite the ride.
It's quite the
Yeah, quite the ride. I wouldn't want to have to go out and get milk in the middle of winter from under there.
Do we want a motion to table?
Yes.
Yes.
Who wants to make a motion to table?
I make a motion to table this whole
Second?
septic system approval.
Peter, word the proper way?
Yeah.
All in favor, say
Can I have
aye.
it? Because I don't have.
So-
Yeah, I can get you a copy. I can get you a copy.
But is there, just out of curiosity, what's gonna happen down the road? Like, there's no mandatory testing for, if you just own the title, you can have it, it's on your purview to have it tested annually, and there's no state regulation to say, test your well every 10 years, or test your
No,
sewage system
no.
every 10
We
years?
used to put dye in our toilet and flush it like 100 times to see if it came out in top. And we've had that done by the city several times. And like year
That's the
after
test?
year after year, it came out of here.
This is,
You know, but what it is, it's not only the dyes, they're talking about bacteria, these coliforms, the
But
nitrogen.
The nitrogen's what's really giving everybody a hard time.
while they were trying to figure out why they were having so much bacteria problems with blooms and all that stuff years ago. I mean, that whole bloom thing has been going on since I was a kid. I've been there
Since I was a kid too, yeah, I remember the whole pond
so-
being green.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you get
City
the odor.
foot didn't come on green, you know?
I get all kinds of calls for that.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have item number
I'll
12.
get you that letter.
No, item number 13, request for keeping chickens for Joseph Maderas at 69 Denver Street. Mr. Maderas, come on down. And if you would state your name and address for the record.
Joseph Maderas, 69 Denver Street.
Roger, you're
Okay.
presenting?
Yes, I originally got a complaint about a rooster at this property.
No, the dreaded rooster.
The dreaded rooster, yes, you know how that goes. When I arrived at the property and I took pictures, there was a rooster there. But he's since gotten rid of the rooster. But he does have chickens and he's looking for a variance to keep chickens there. I have sent out notices to 5 different properties. I have gotten 2 people opposed to having the chickens. It's very nice, he's got it nice and clean, there's no sign of rats or rodents or anything like that. So, I don't know if you have gotten the pictures.
The pictures didn't really come through.
Yeah, they were kind of.
I got some new ones if you want to take a look at them, that's not a problem. I was there this week.
Ma'am,
He's
you
got-
need to speak on this? Okay, hold on just a minute. I didn't want you to be left out. Is there a dwelling on this property?
Yes,
Is it a small
So there
dwelling?
was a
It doesn't-
compost-
It doesn't show up on...
There was a compost pile as well, right?
So, yeah,
Then what?
I rectified that. Not anymore.
that's gone.
Well, I couldn't see this in my pictures.
Are they that bad?
The,
Yeah, they're bad enough.
the base
I
is
gotta,
pretty much buried, because I didn't want any animals getting in and also them getting out. So I've been there about a year and I haven't seen any rodents, but I mean, obviously the chickens are new as of May.
so no roosters on the property now?
No, I was rehoming one for someone and I had it there, and then obviously when I got the complaint, I had it out of there within a day or two.
How many chickens are there?
8.
Ma'am, you want to speak? If you could come on down, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Barbara J. Flynn, 76 Detroit Street in Fall River.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, I grew up in that house.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was a double lot at one time. So I built my home in what would have been your backyard. So
Gotcha.
right now, that coop is about 5 feet away from a shed of mine. We have had like fly situations, like George, at 84, George St. Hours. We were discussing it this morning. I'm not saying a mouse that was on my walkway is related to the chickens, because I do not know that. But I did hear the rooster, but I didn't think it was in the backyard. And that was maybe in April. I'm just opposed to it due to the rodent, you know, it's an attractive nuisance also. Health-wise, I don't think it's wise.
Raj, you said you got 2 others opposing?
Yes, Ms. Flynn and I had someone else call.
So 5 abutters, 2
George.
opposed?
Yeah, 5 opposed, 2 opposed.
3 didn't answer.
I have,
3, right?
I have a letter.
Yeah, 3 didn't answer.
Signed by George, that I believe you spoke to Mr. Cassavant, and his tenants upstairs.
Can you read it?
If you read it for
Oh,
us, for the
yes,
record.
certainly. Dear Mr. Cassavant, we are opposed to the keeping of chickens at 69 Denver Street. We believe it endangers the public health, safety, and welfare, and constitutes a public nuisance. This is not a rural residential neighborhood. There are some homes on that. I've lived there all my life. There are some homes with triple and sometimes quadruple lots, which wouldn't be a problem. But the lots that we have are so tight. They're tight.
Well, haven't we in the past, isn't the setback 50 feet from a dwelling, 50 feet
That's
from
what
the
I
property
had.
line?
Correct, that's why we're here for
Yeah.
variance.
How far is it from the property line?
It's about 5 feet, I believe. I'm not sure.
Any structure is within 4 feet. So I'm within, for the structure, I'm within means, but obviously the keeping of the actual chickens is within 50. So,
We got no setbacks. We got 2 opposed out of 5.
It abuts my property, and my pool is probably, if you're saying 4 feet, the pool's probably 6 feet from
From
the
the
chicken
chicken?
coop.
Okay,
I didn't do the measurements, but it's more than 4 feet.
yeah, it's more than 4 feet.
From
Past
you just
practice
mentioned
would
4
be
feet.
to get
With more.
extermination contract,
Rodent contract, yeah.
of course, the no roosters. That's what we've done past
Yeah,
practice.
We've also limited chickens to less than 8.
Yeah. But this is a situation we have need. Usually, we don't have any butters.
Right,
complain.
that I did not.
No, we've had in the past some abutters that complain it's still allowed.
Some rules, they were more.
Yeah,
They agreed once we set some rules.
yeah, right, yeah, once we set the rules, yeah.
Well, the application's for 8 chickens, no more than that. No baby chicks for Easter. No rooster of any kind. We usually require a rodent contract, and proof of a rodent contract for the next 3 or 4
Extermination.
years.
Yep.
There'll be an additional inspection or 2 every year.
Yep, yes.
Okay, what do you think?
I'm a fellow RN, and I don't know what the studies are of having, oh, sorry, I don't know.
It just has a.
I don't know what the studies
Yeah,
of
just
the
the
health
water.
effects are. I've owned chickens in another town before, in a right-to-farm community. You know, obviously those are rural communities, and this being a city and more urban, I understand that concern, but
How long have you had these chickens?
I actually got them as chicks in March. I had them in the house at first, obviously, and then May.
Okay,
Where
now
they
let me
went.
throw this out. Why?
Fresh eggs. That's all.
Do you need 8 for fresh eggs?
Well, listen, I'm taking high cholesterol, we get a prescription of this. Greed is a terrible thing.
Did you not realize you needed a permit?
So I did not, I went online and I tried to make some phone calls, but I guess it's not something that comes up often, so nobody really could direct me to the right place of where to go to apply for it. Not like a dog or anything like that, where you can just go in and do that. Obviously, there's different laws involved with it. So initially I did not, but then obviously when I got the rooster, and it sparked all this. Now I know there is one.
Roger, has a variance in this short proximity to other homes ever come up here?
Yes, we have,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, a few of
But,
them.
and we've always depended on Roger's inspections, and many times he's come back with immaculate property.
The house is immaculate.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very nice. Yep. Except for when I first got there and he was saving the droppings and stuff for, I guess, for his garden.
Compost, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, how about we go with the 8 chickens and the rodent contract?
How often
And
does it
Do you
have
need
to
8
have a rodent
chickens?
contract?
I mean, we used to.
That's what I said, does it have to be 8?
Um,
You know?
And we want some additional inspections. And if you have any complaints at all, you call us right away.
I have a complaint right now. Over 8 chickens. I mean, why can't it be 3 or 4?
Could it be 6?
Like, he's a new neighbor of mine, like he restored a house I
On every other
grew up
Sunday,
in.
you're gonna get
I
a dozen
respect him,
dozen
but-
eggs on the back porch.
Is that right, Mr. Medeiros?
If you'd like some, yes. They just started laying, actually.
I just think 8's too many. I think 8's gonna be
I
drawing.
believe,
Her complaint is.
I believe the health concern and the rodent concern, whether you have 1 or 10, is gonna be the same.
Not necessarily, I
There's
researched
smell,
it.
There's the noise.
Yeah, I researched it actually. And it's the food that draws the rodents and not the waste
Right.
from the chicken.
I keep the food inside the actual coop above, it's actually 2 to 3, 4 feet above the ground. It's, like I said, the coop itself is buried, the base of it is buried, so if anything it would have to dig at least 4 inches under to get into the coop. And when I'm storing the feed, I have a shed also on the property that it's locked up and it's above the ground as well. So
Why can't
there's
you
no,
move the coop to another area where someone isn't opposing it?
my front yard?
No, I'm like this side, you have 2 sides.
I do, but there's a hill on, so whether I have it on this side or that side, it's gonna
But
be
those
against your
neighbors wouldn't
property.
oppose it.
She's on the rear of my property, so there's not really a whole lot of other area for me to put it other than to the back of my property. I mean, I could have it like right on top of my house, but then,
Why not? I mean, you don't want to do it, and I certainly don't want it on
Is there-
top of my
Is there a
property.
fence between properties?
there
Yes.
is
Like the kind you can't see over?
6 foot.
Yes, it's high. Another concern of mine, excuse me, is that rodents like jumping from the top of the coop onto my shed because it's so close.
Squirrels. Yes.
Yeah, I don't
And
believe a
actually,
rat would do
rodents could be
that.
there.
A rat would not, I don't believe would do that. It's probably squirrels.
Rodents could be there all winter, and I don't go back in the backyard all winter. You know, you go to open your shed and you've got a new family living there.
Okay, let's make a motion to either accept or deny.
How often would he have to have the rodent people come? Do we
Well,
usually?
usually it's a yearly contract, it's gonna be, as long as he has the animals.
Do we usually, 8 chickens, is there usually a limit to our number?
I remember 6 was kind of,
Yeah.
I remember the day with the fancy chickens, remember? Up
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
They
yeah,
had
the-
12 chickens and the conjugal visits.
The conjugal
Oh, see,
visits.
I
Yes.
remember that.
Yes.
I just worry about us, again, setting a precedent in a short.
I think if you go back, we've approved everything from from 6 to 12.
Yeah, usually whatever they have at that time.
Yeah, whatever, yeah, that's.
They got 12, all right, you can have 12.
But
You got 8, you got 8.
The other question was, that's why you can't have extra chicks for Easter.
Yeah,
It's gotta be,
yes,
if that's what it is, that's what it is.
yeah.
Even in that, close
Oh, yeah.
proximity to that number,
I,
okay. So,
I'll have to update you on what we got.
So Roger, the person that she has a letter from is the second person that you talked to?
Yes, I never got a letter from him, I spoke to him on the phone.
So 2 out of 5 are used.
Were one of the opposers right and left abutters?
I think he was at 84, I'm not really sure if he's...
Yes, 84.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
This is 69, so 84 would be across the street.
Well, no, it's the other street.
The other street.
Our backyard's abut.
Detroit Street, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's your backyard, you're the backyard abutter, I thought.
His
He's the
backyard and my
backyard abutter
backyard.
too? The other-
Yeah, both of our backyards abut.
Yeah, he would be the diagonal, 84, 69 would be here, and 84 is on the corner, on the opposite street.
Okay.
Okay?
So can we make it contingent upon all?
Oh, we always do, it always is.
Yep.
If they approve, it'll be the number of chickens, the rooster, and the rodent contract.
And extra visits by Roger?
Yeah, with that, there's always extra visits.
Yeah. Go at least once or twice a year, pay a visit.
Let's leave you some eggs.
Hmm?
I'll have to leave him some eggs.
Yep, as long as it ain't over $50.
No bribing?
No bribe. You can bribe your neighbor, you can't bribe the
Yeah, you can't
inspector.
bribe me.
Okay, what's the feeling? This one's tough. yeah.
It is tough, because I don't want to ignore the,
You want to appease the neighbors too, because. it's-
Right.
And I certainly don't want to get off on the wrong foot with my new neighbor.
but I don't want to ignore the neighbors' concerns either.
Well, like,
If you
we're
were-
gonna be paying a visit at least once a year. If we see anything that's
A
out
lot
of
can
the
happen in
ordinary,
a year.
I can make it 6 months if you wish. You're gonna get a extermination contract. So if there's anything going on, as far as rodents go, they're gonna know. So that should settle her nerves and her concerns.
Yes, if there's rodent activity, it'll be reported to us.
Right.
Are you the one that gets the proof of the rodent contract, just so?
Yeah, he would have to send me a proof of the rodent contract.
That just included in my lot, correct? Because if somebody finds a rodent on their property, then are they gonna be able to say,
Right.
well, that's because of me?
Yeah, yes, it would be just your lot.
Oh, so if I had rats, like, or
Well,
mice
wait a
or
minute.
something?
If you don't have now, and you don't have a year from now, that means that he's doing everything correctly, right?
Correct.
I understood from speaking to you, Mr. Casavant, that it would be, the contract with the exterminator would be in the event of an abutter having, like, a rodent problem due to the chickens.
No, what would happen is, they're gonna come every year, or 6 months, whatever the contract states, and check his property to see if there's any rodents. You would know they would know where they're coming from, or if he has the issue.
Generally, with a rodent contract, it's monthly inspections.
Oh,
Well, I'm just
could be
thinking,
a monthly inspection too.
I'm not in my backyard from probably September to June, so a lot could happen.
But you would have evidence of,
The exterminator would pick up on that if there's a problem. They gotta dig to get to your house. So they would have to dig under the fence or somehow or another, and the exterminator would pick up on that. If anybody's looking.
so yes, no? Chairman can't make a motion, so.
No,
Compromise might be to reduce.
Reduce the number.
reduce the number of chickens.
My concern is, where would you like me to do with the other chickens.
Send them where the rooster
How long
went.
do they live?
Oh, they don't have, that'd be one of the things, no roosters.
No,
No, I said send them where the rooster went.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
Still get your fresh eggs.
I'm sorry.
there's always Sunday dinner next week. Tom, that was awful, yes, I know.
Reducing the number of chickens would make less noise, less.
Critical mass.
So we cut it to 6 and yes, or we leave it at 8 and approve? What do we
Feel
do?
better if we cut it to 6.
We gotta
Would you
cut
cut,
it.
Dan?
Yeah.
We're gonna cut it to 6. Peter, word this the proper way in the minutes. For 6, no rooster, road contract in place. Who wants a second?
I second.
You made. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? So voted. May they rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have,
Oh, yeah, we're not done.
there's no, sure, are you with the Herald or?
Yep.
Oh, okay, I thought I recognized you. Are you here for citizen input time? Would you like to say something?
Surprisingly, no. I'm just here to listen and watch.
Okay. Is there any new business to come before the board of such a nature that it could not make the agenda?
No.
Okay. We got to confirm the date for the next meeting. It's August 14th, no, August 10th, I think it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon.
August 14th. August 14th, that's a
Yep.
Wednesday, that's
Yeah,
so good.
August 14th, yeah.
August 14th.
Now, we have a few other things on the, there was some letters, we all received copies of the letters.
Yep.
I don't think we actually have to do anything with these, we've received them. Restricting the sale of e-cigarettes and stuff. To reconsider the grandfather clause, I don't think we had anything to do with that, really.
No.
Privy with that.
The number of the tobacco license, that's not our department.
Right.
I would decline that conversation. We did get an FDA notice about a store that failed a tobacco inspection. But we don't have anything to do with that yet.
No, those are FDA, so the FDA does their own checks.
Yes.
Yeah, we aren't notified of when or where or anything until there's a
After.
violation.
And I remember Marilyn saying it's usually like 3 months after we finally get
That's
the
correct.
information.
And just in terms of the tobacco licenses, if the board were to choose, you would be able to. So I just want to make a note that you do have the capacity to limit the number of licenses. Just, you know, you said that it wasn't part of, technically that's within the bounds of a board.
Okay, technically it's in the bounds of the board, but I would decline to entertain that.
And that's.
I would yield as the chairman on that discussion, because I would have to speak to.
Who else makes decisions on number of licenses?
That would be the council.
The council,
I think
but
that's the
other,
council.
you know,
I
other
prefer
That- That's
boards.
restricted
Framingham
business.
Framingham recently tried to put forward capping the licenses. So other boards of health do that. I just wanted to make a note, because you said that wasn't within your
Something to
purview.
consider if things get a little out of hand.
Yeah.
But I
Well-
would,
But
I would
that
go
one
back to the
person-
city council and just make a note that this is going to be an issue. And maybe they should start addressing it sooner.
This individual did go before city council, and there have been other cases, and I believe New Bedford is also working towards capping the number of licenses. So, and that's the Board of Health in New Bedford. So I'm not, you
No,
know,
but it's-
I'm just making
But they
it
want to
clear that that's
protect
an option.
their.
Oh, I understand
they
about the
wanna protect
protection
their-
part, but I
But
mean,
that denies somebody else the right.
this is
to the same
America,
thing.
and we all have equal opportunity.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, it denies
If you open
them.
the wrong business, at the wrong location, at the wrong time, as long as you made the effort, if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you had the opportunity, okay? And again, if you're going to make the effort, the investment, the time, the location, all that, and for someone else to say, no, you can't open one,
I'll defer that to city council then.
That's
But it's something
why-
that they're gonna have to.
again, I'll defer to the council. They get elected, I know.
Right. I think some boards feel as though that it falls under their scope due to the health impacts of, you know, tobacco. But that's certainly up for the
Yep.
board to decide. So that was just a letter that we received, and that's why it was put
Okay.
in that packet.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Thank you.